Hi everyone, in today's video I'll be doing something a little different than my usual apocalyptic type build, as I'll be building these 132 scale US soldiers and motorcycle by Suyata. So what drew me to this kit was the fact that the figures have articulation and are meant to be put into different poses, and I figured these would be fun to animate with. So I found this kit whilst I was looking for these two kits, which I do plan to build in the future. So there's very little information out there on the internet about this kit, and since it was so cheap I figured I'd just buy one and see what it was like. So as you can see here, the instructions are on the back of the box and they're fairly simple, although they don't really give you any indication of where you're supposed to apply glue and where you're not. Initially I thought this was like a snap together kit, but after building one and having to use some glue to kind of get the whole thing stick together, I figured you do have to glue certain bits. Inside we get this little piece of paper. We also have two bags with 2 sprues in each. The first bag contains the 2 sprues for the 2 figures. The second contains the sprue for the motorcycle, the weapons, and for some reason 6 helmets for 2 figures. They do make other kits. I don't know if you buy one of the other kits and they don't have helmets, or if it's just to give you extra helmets because you might lose them or something. So I start with the figure. Now I've already built one off camera to kind of figure out how they go, and like I said with the instructions before, they ain't that clear, so I kind of just guessed where I needed to put it together. So I've probably done it wrong, I don't know, but again, there's not many people who've built these kits and shared their experience with them, so I'm kind of just going into new waters on my own sort of thing. So I start by cutting the parts for the lower torso off the sprue with my sprue cutters, and then clean them up with a file. For the rest of the pieces I just do this off camera to spare you the repeat footage. Once the cleanup was done, I began to assemble the lower torso. Looking back, I should have filmed this on a white piece of paper with a pair of tweezers that I assembled the smaller parts to give you a better view, but hindsight and all that, I built one and then filmed me building the second one. The parts also don't fit together all that well. It might just be me and the kit I got, I don't know. But I just use these clothes pegs that I got for clamps, which I find really good for clamping pieces together. It also could be the fact that I'm using poly cement, because I really don't like using super glue whenever I don't have to use it, because as you know, if you get super glue on your skin, it's a nightmare of a time. Next I assemble the top section of the torso, and again use the close bit clamps to hold everything together as the glue kind of sets. Following this, I assembled the groin / pelvis section, which is a little fiddly because the patches just don't want to go together, but luckily, again, using the little clamps I've got here, I kind of force them together again. If you're using poly cement like me though, I would warn it's good to just kind of move the parts freely, because poly cement will fuse the plastic together, so if you've got moving parts you want to rotate those moving parts just to be sure that nothing kind of sticks permanently. Otherwise, if you leave it and then come back, you may find that everything's fused together and none of the moving parts work anymore. And then move on to the upper arm, which is made up of two pieces. they clamp together over the shoulder ball joint. Again, this is where I start to find the bits kind of refuse to go together, and I'm kind of lucky I'm using poly cement because it kind of acts as a bit of a lubricant, whereas if I used super glue I'd be fiddling around getting all of my fingers and gluing my fingers and just getting really annoyed with this kit. But I'm just using the poly cement and the clamp method to kind of get it to work. Again, obviously working the arm just to make sure nothing gets glued in place. Thankfully the forearm is just a single piece and happily slots on a peg where the elbow would be. Now onto the hands. I'm not entirely sure if you're supposed to glue the hands on or if you're just supposed to slot them on. I did try slotting them on, but they didn't seem to work, so I ended up just gluing them in place. I'm not too sure if you're supposed to do this because the instructions don't state otherwise, but it's the only way I could figure to keep the hand on. So moving on to the legs, they're pretty much the same as the arm, so the fact that the upper part has two bits that clamp around the pelvis joint as well as the knee joint for the lower leg. So you need to kind of position the parts in place before you attach the two halves of the upper leg together, so they'll lock around the pelvis joint and the knee joint on the lower leg. Again, the lower leg is just a single piece. Lastly, I attached the head, which was similar to the hands. It attached to a peg. I didn't feel like it wanted to stay there unless I used some glue. And here we have the figure fully assembled, stood next to two Mega Construx figures, which are what I usually use to animate with. We've got a Halo Spartan on the left and a Call of Duty figure on the right. And as you can see, they're kind of pretty much the same height as the Mega Construx figures, although it's a lot slimmer. As a quick test, I did a range of motions with the figure. Sorry for the quality of this animation. It's filmed on my build desk in the middle of the day, so it's not the best quality. Following this, I get to work on the motorcycle. I'll start by assembling the front wheel and handlebars. Which I then glued to the body of the bike. And then touch the other half of the fuel tank, which locks the handlebars and the front wheels in place. I then add this other half of the engine and the rear wheel. Next, add a few more pieces of the engine to this side. On the other side, I add the other half of the engine and the exhaust. And finally, here we are with both the figures and the motorcycle assembled. So final thoughts, as you may have noticed in the range of motions test, the arms didn't quite hold the pose as well. The fact is only one of the figures is able to hold his arms above his head without them falling back down. So I think I'm going to go back and then just kind of mess around with the arm joints and stuff so they'll hold the pose better when I'm animating with them. Overall, I'm reasonably happy with how they turned out. Although I would have liked to have had more articulation with the figures. I don't know if this is just due to how I assembled them or if this is how they are supposed to be assembled. So from here I'm going to convert them into some drone troopers, similar to that of the droids from Star Wars or the robot counterparts from Team Fortress 2. Obviously I'll be adding some greeblies and such, so I might do a follow-up video in the future. If you're interested in these kits, from what I've seen they only make 4 kits. 2 US soldier kits and 2 German kits. Each has a squad kit and then 2 figures in a vehicle kit. Obviously the US soldiers had the motorcycle, the German soldiers had the, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the tracked bike. You know, the half-tracked motorcycle, it has that name that I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one.